government is responsible. At the end of the day, all the decisions will affect every citizen. So every citizen has to somehow channel his own views and ensure that he's represented on that platform to get his views heard, either through the NGO, through the civil society, or by coming directly, if you can.
Okay, please tell him how he can do that.
No, just wait.
Tell him how he can do that.
No, just wait. There's an internet platform that is being provided where every person can actually air their views, whether you want to do it on Twitter, you want to do it on Facebook, so you can get your voice heard. You don't, the world now is a virtual world. You don't have to be physically present to make an impact. So the common man has to, be interested. For too long we have allowed this country to be run by people, and then we lament and we complain. But here is a platform that says to you, air your views, and you have the highest people who are defining what this economy is going to be like, what this nation is going to be like, then get your voice heard.
What are those platforms that have been created?
So by design, this year, we're continuing a tradition we tried to start last year. Specifically, there's a lot of focus on breakout sessions. So it's the whole summit itself, it's a combination of plenary sessions where it's essentially a summit at a large gathering, you have panelists and all of that. But there's very little room sometimes for interaction, for the kind of interaction that delegates want to have. So this year we have what we call design workshops. So essentially these are smaller groups around specific issues. So for example, if you have a particular interest in, say, SMEs and financing SMEs, or say education, or skills, or institutions and how to strengthen institutions, you have smaller design workshops around those topics where essentially it is delegates that proffer solutions and recommendations that then end up into these documents that Mr. Kerry has talked about, that then end up at the government's table essentially. So that's those are by design. We've tried to make the summit a lot more interactive, and of course while all of these things are happening, you have the social media platforms where people can.
What are those platforms? Because a lot of people want to know now.
Okay, so you have there's a Twitter handle. There's NES group. Yeah, that's what the Twitter handle is. There's a Facebook profile. Now, if you go to nesgroup.org, you have all of these channels listed. And then you can also register to.
Okay, Mr. Kerry, there's a significant amount of speakers that have been brought in for this summit, but the bulk of them are from outside Nigeria.
Yes, I mean, Nigeria has always been attracting foreign speakers. In the summit being what you call national discourse, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. Somebody somewhere has had the kinds of problems we faced, and they have resolved them. How did they resolve those? Yeah. And it is easier learning from the mistakes of someone else, and in some cases even leapfrogging from those lessons, which means that the learning would be faster.
You don't have to go through
and the solutions exactly, and the implementation of the solutions could become faster. And therefore, getting people from foreign countries or the speakers from those climates would actually assist us. Some are academics, some are industry players, some were former policy makers themselves. And the combination of those and the story they tell us of what they have done in their climate would assist us in formulating proper solutions on how we fix our economic development.
Mrs. Aditayo, why does it look as if it's been difficult? I'm trying to put this. Why does it look as if it's been difficult for the private sector to get government to implement some of the recommendations made by the group over the years?
Yeah, first of all, we must be fair to ourselves. Our democracy is young. The political structures are not as strong as they ought. The professionalism with which you articulate what policies should be, and you get them implemented, passes through civil service structure and all of that. So, but I think...
Red tape and all.
Well, yeah. But I really, really believe, though, that we've made significant progress. This is NESG 21 that is about to happen. Between NESG 1 and NESG 20, we've gotten successive presidents demonstrating their commitment by their very presence at each summit to participate at the presidential roundtable, which for me is progress. Secondly, successive presidents have demanded to take the outcomes of the summit to the Federal Executive Council, which is a demonstration of political will. And at that point, they say, okay, fine, we have adopted this. So there is a sign-off that we believe in the system, we believe in the outcomes. Now, the greatest gap in the world is the gap between knowing and doing. So what we need to fast track now is the doing. When that gets to a ministry and policies have to be formulated and policies have to be implemented, that is where we believe that the strength needs to come in. And on our side as the NESG, that's why we set up what we call the policy commissions, 10 of them, to face each of the different sectors, to partner with government to drive them to implementation. But honestly, in terms of fruit, we've had the Agric Summit that you talked about. Now we had Nagropreneurs as a result of that, where government has focused on investing in young Nigerians within the Agric sector. We've had telecoms, which is a very, very strong policy that has been made that has transformed that economy. We just need many more of those being repeated. And I think that as long as there's political will and on the private sector part, the nexus between government and private sector in ensuring that the policies that are canvassed are appropriately implemented. The Pensions Act, they're all outcomes of the summits that we have had successively.
On the whole, by and large, would you say that government has listened to your advice?
I would say yes. I would say yes. Now, listening to advice and
implementing.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's
so
where
maybe I should rephrase my question.
There is an implementation lag.
Okay. Let me rephrase. How much has government implemented the advice from the summit?
Right.
Well, I think, as I've said, there is a huge gap, absolutely. But you would call that also a lag. A lag. You put an egg to boil on fire. It takes some minutes, seconds before it becomes the kind of boiled egg that you want. Sometimes, it doesn't come out the way you want it. Sometimes, So I think that there has been a fair representation in terms of implementation, but the gap is a lot in terms of political will, in terms of real ability to craft. Okay, look at when you put a policy together and it's something that has to be signed into law. Do you see how long PIB has taken? So I think also that when we look at this, we don't focus only on the executive arm of government. We have to look at all other aspects. Some of these things have to be signed into law, and they get seated there whilst we're waiting for
National
the Assembly to turn them into acts and all of that. So it is all of those structures that need to be fine-tuned to actually get the thing as quickly as we need it. Because now we're almost in what we call a state of emergency, and we need to actually increase the pace with which this implementation
You know, the thing about implementation gaps and things of this nature is very simple when you look at it from the point of view of, say, your child or a student, right? The more you encourage as they take minimal steps of progress, the more determined they get and they begin to propel or accelerate. Now, what you have is exactly the same with government or even in organization. When you take the baby steps, the recommendations are sound, right? Fact-based, clear. Implementation gap becomes a problem. So NESG's role would have to now transform into that mirror that would say, look at how you're doing, whether it is by virtue of the scorecards, which we present every year at the summit, or during the course of the year, having the policy commission dialogues.
Okay.
Those are all reflections of how government could.
How do you get participants into this summit? We're almost out of time.
Okay.
And when is it happening?
It's the 13th to the 15th of October, so it's really just over a week. Starts on a Tuesday and it's on a Thursday. Essentially, you can go to the website of the NESG, nesgroup.org, to register. On that platform, on the website also, you find links to all the social media addresses and channels you can use to, if you're not able to attend, for example, to interact. While the summit is going on, it's going to be also aired live. So essentially, the idea of all of this is just to get the conversation going, get as many people as possible involved in the conversation.
Any financial implications?
Registration
this
year
comes with a fee. Yeah.
Yes, there's registration to be at the summit. But
How much?
It's 120,000. Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. We've been speaking with Mr. Kyari Bukar, the chairman of the Nigerian Economic Summit Group. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
At least I didn't deal with you too much. Mr. Lanwe Akimbo is the NEST 21 Technical Committee chairman.
Thank you.
And Mrs. Wonu Adetaya, a board member of the Nigerian Economic Summit Group.
Thank you very much.
All right. Sunrise.